When you're trying to hit shots into the wind, what do you think focusing on, or what do you try to do?
Most of the time, and this I guess comes fairly natural for me because I grew up in Sydney where it's always blowing about 100 miles an hour. So I just try and, with my irons, try and narrow my stance up slightly, ball position slightly further back, but I never ever try and hit it too hard into the wind, because the harder you hit it, the more spin it's going to create, and therefore the ball will go shorter. So little narrower stance, ball a little back, and then on the way through I just try and, instead of finishing all the way around, I just try and hold it off, and that way the hands are going to lead the club head into the shot and basically de-loft the club. So I'm, I guess you could say I'm, almost turning a 7-iron into a 6-iron loft at impact, because my hands are ahead of the ball and therefore keeping the ball down a little bit. Can't guarantee it'll go straight every time.
So you've been maybe a bit too technical this year, but there's still certain things that you need to do when you're trying to hit a shot like that you have to go through every time in order to hit a good shot. You're not necessarily thinking about swing mechanics, but you're thinking about what you have to do to hit the shot that you want.
That type of shot right there is really what I've been struggling with all year, because my bad habit has been to not make a good turn on my backswing. I basically stay in my left side. I guess because I'm so used to playing in the wind and practicing in the wind that I was just basically, I wasn't making a good enough turn to my right side of my backswing. I was just staying here, and all year if I've been playing a shot into the wind like that, it's kind of, I've been going through a bad stage where I feel like if I stay on my left side, even though, which is, when you're playing a punch shot, you've kind of got to stay on your left side the whole way to, so your shoulders are more level, and so you're covering the ball more. I've kind of been feeling like I've still got to turn to the right, because that's what I'm working on. And the more I turn to my right side, the more width I've got, the more loft I've got on the way down, and the ball's going to zoom up in the air. So I've kind of been, my head's been going around in circles with too many things I've been thinking of for a shot that should be so simple like that. It's pretty much, for us, it's pretty much just wait a little bit on your left side, ball position back, and it should all come so natural, and something that when I won earlier in the year, we played in a lot of wind, and it was very, very easy for me at the time to do that, because I was just so used to doing it. But then I think after a while I've been playing in the wind too much that I got into some bad habits, and it took me a while to get out of them.
Oh, so you just said that.
Those Nickent irons, they're the best things. Sliced bread, they're amazing. I started using them at the Australian Masters last year. I only jumped on board with Nickent this year and signed a contract with them, but I started using the irons just before the Australian Masters in November last year. Whether it was coincidence or not, I had some fantastic results. I had chances to win both the Masters, New Zealand Open, and the Australian Open as well. And then first time I put the driver in play was in Moonar, and I won it. So I mean, I like the feeling of just having new stuff in the bag. It's kind of a fresh start. I've got a new putter in this week, and I like the feel of it in my hand. So, and I've just re-gripped my club, so it's something new. It's keeping it fresh all the time.
How do you change your game if you're here in the States or if we're in Australia? Like, if your dad comes over, how would you recommend he plays different shots? Because I think there's a correlation between, a hard, fast golf course in Australia and maybe something you would find.
It's definitely a lot softer over here. Generally, it's not quite as windy, unless you're in Dallas, Texas. But there's definitely, what I would say, I mean, it does depend on what type of golf course you're playing, but I've found out here on the Nationwide Tour there's definitely more of a premium on finding the fairways, and that's kind of contradictory to what they say now. It's just a bomber's game, but believe me, I've struggled finding fairways off the tee this year, and you have to find the fairway. It's as simple as that. If you don't find the fairway, you're either in rough this thick, or you've got hazards or houses or water, or you've got more penalties here for missing the fairway. In Australia, on most of the golf courses, especially the ones I grew up with in Sydney, you miss a fairway, you're in the trees with a shot out, or you're on another fairway where you can get back over the trees, and it feels like out here you don't get that opportunity a lot of the time when you miss the fairway, especially not as wide as what I've been hitting it. But as far as changing your game, I don't really know if you need to change your game. I think you've just got to play what the hole gives you.
So when you're in a tournament, how much conversating do you do in terms of selecting a club or picking yardage?
To be honest, it's going to be good this week to have Daniel in the bag, because we're mates, and I just prefer to do everything myself, to be honest. Everybody's different with what they require out of a caddy and what they feel they need out of a caddy. I guess there's a lot of guys, the majority of guys want someone who's been out here a long time. They talk about all the shots and the wind and all that. And look, my theory with a caddy is, for me, I want someone who I can chat with in between shots, because we're out here for such a long time. I don't want my mind to be on golf for the 5.5 hours that I'm out here, because mentally I'll be destroyed after 9 holes, and it's going to be. I know when I played my best golf in the past, and when I won earlier in the year, my mate who caddied for me then, we were talking about anything but golf in between shots, and that keeps me loose, keeps me relaxed. And it's just out of instinct and discipline, I guess. Once I get within 10 yards of my ball, that's when I want the conversation to end and to start focusing again on the next shot and what needs to be done. When it comes to the shot at hand or the putt, unless I really want a second opinion on it, my theory is the player is always a better golfer than the caddy and knows more about the shot than the caddy. And they don't know what you're feeling as well, and you know what technically might be the right shot to play. You might not feel comfortable playing that. You might feel more comfortable playing something else. So I guess a lot of it is my stubbornness too. But I prefer to make my own decisions, and I've only got myself to blame that way. But I think a big thing is too, I don't want to be second guessing anything. Once I make the decision, I'm fully committed to that. I'm ready to fire, and I'm not doubting anything. And I know when I first turned pro at 19, 20, I was really, really aggressive, and probably stupidly aggressive most of the time, taking driver everywhere and just going for everything, going for every pin. But I backed myself back then. I really did. I knew I could pull it off, and more than half the time I would. And I was probably a little inconsistent, because a lot of the times I'd play shots that probably weren't on at the stage, but I think lately I've fallen into a trap of a lot of the guys out here play a lot more conservatively, and I've kind of been second guessing myself as to whether I should be playing that shot. But I most of the time I believe in myself in pulling the shot off, and I'm going to probably continue to always play that way and be aggressive. But I've got to be. I think sometimes I've got to be a little wiser about it. I think I've got to choose when and when not to be aggressive.